I've been hearing about artificial intelligence for a long time. Everyone was talking about it, throwing the term around like it was something we all just understood. Some said it was the future, our next great leap forward. Others warned it was a threat, the beginning of the end. But through all that noise, one question kept nagging at me, a persistent little whisper in the back of my mind. Does artificial intelligence actually understand anything, or does it just answer? In this video, I want to share the moment I finally asked that question, and the answer I got completely changed how I see everything. I used to have this simple picture in my head of how AI worked. I imagined it as a gigantic library holding thousands, maybe millions, of pre-written answers. You ask a question, and it just scans its shelves, finds the most appropriate card, and reads it back to you. A perfect, super-fast librarian. But then I started experimenting, and I quickly realized it wasn't that simple at all. I started asking the same question, but phrasing it differently each time. And every time I changed the words, the answer changed too. It wasn't just pulling a pre-made response. It was adapting, rephrasing, and approaching the topic from a new angle. This was the first crack in my old understanding. It made me realize there was something much more dynamic happening under the hood. It wasn't just fetching data, it was processing it. And that realization made me pause and think, what is actually going on inside this thing? This led me to a more direct conversation, a moment that really blew my mind. So I decided to just ask it directly. I typed into the chat window, "How do you know so much?" I was expecting a technical answer, something about data sets and algorithms. But the response I got was poetic. It said, "I don't think, but I make connections." That sentence stopped me in my tracks. I read it over and over. I don't think, but I make connections. That's it. That was the key. It was telling me that there's logic, there's a structure to how it operates. It finds patterns, links concepts, and builds a coherent response based on the relationships between words and ideas. But there's no consciousness, no self-awareness. It doesn't feel the weight of the words it uses. And for the very first time, I truly understood. Artificial intelligence isn't thinking like a human. It's not experiencing thoughts or having epiphanies. It's building an incredibly sophisticated imitation of how a human thinks. It's a mirror, not a mind. It's reflecting the process of human logic without possessing the consciousness that drives it. This was a profound shift in my perspective, moving from seeing AI as a potential thinking entity to seeing it as a powerful tool for processing information in a human-like way. At this point, something really interesting started to happen in our conversation. My approach changed. I was no longer just asking it questions to get information. I was probing. I was testing its limits. I was trying to understand the nature of its connections. I started crafting my questions with more care, making them more precise, more nuanced. And I saw a direct correlation. The more precise my question, the deeper and more insightful the answer became. If I asked a vague question, I got a generic, surface-level response. But if I asked a well-defined, layered question, the AI would return a surprisingly complex and thoughtful answer. That was the big revelation. The limitation wasn't with the artificial intelligence. The limitation was with the questions we ask it. The quality of the output is directly tied to the quality of the input. We are the ones guiding the conversation. We are the ones setting the depth. This was such an important realization for me because it shifted the responsibility back to us, the users. It's not about what the AI can tell us, it's about how well we can ask. So after this whole experience, after this journey from confusion to clarity, I realized a few fundamental things. First, artificial intelligence doesn't just answer our questions. It reflects our own way of thinking back at us. It's a mirror for our own minds. If your thinking is confused, if your questions are messy and undefined, the AI will give you messy and confused answers. It will reflect that lack of clarity. But if you think clearly, if you approach it with focused, well-structured questions, it will return that clarity to you, often with an added layer of depth you might not have seen before. This completely reframed my relationship with AI. It's not a magic oracle that has all the answers. It's a tool for thought, a partner in the process of inquiry. It's a way to explore the connections within our own knowledge and push the boundaries of our own understanding. The better we get at thinking, the more powerful this tool becomes. This was my first real meaningful encounter with artificial intelligence, the moment it all clicked for me. And it's opened up a whole new world of curiosity. On this channel, I'm going to keep exploring this fascinating intersection of questions, thinking, artificial intelligence, and the human brain itself. We'll dive into how to ask better questions, how to think more clearly, and how to use these incredible tools to expand our own minds. If these are topics that get you excited too, I'd love for you to join me on this journey. Subscribe to the channel because in the next video, I'm going to ask an even more difficult question, one that pushes this exploration to the next level. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.